You had fun with your friends Saturday?
Yeah. And I won the MU when I was participating.
Oh wow!
First prize.
Great!
Today was the felicitation.
Great! I wonder how you prepare for it.
I basically focus on weak points of other countries rather than strongholds of mine.
Okay.
So I'll be aware of whatever my country did, but then I'll be more, well worked on what other countries did not do.
Okay, great.
So today no one else is coming, right? So I have to do art class.
Yes. And you know what? My friend, it's her 50th birthday. So her husband has made a group and he wants all of us to wish her. So maybe 5 minutes, I'll give you some work
Yeah.
and I'll wish her.
Yeah, that's fine. That looks so nice.
Yeah.
That's so considerate though, like making a whole group just to wish her.
He asked one of our other friends to, because all my friends are all over the world now. Some are in Dubai, one is in Dubai, other one is in 2-3 are in US. So I was thinking, what should I do? Should I do something more? Should I wear a better dress? And I was maybe only my face will be seen. Forget it. Should we concentrate on beehive or should we do one lesson of moments?
Yeah, if we do moments, then we'll be done with it.
Weathering the storm of Ersama.
Also, I cannot read much today. Like, there's something wrong with my throat.
Okay.
I don't know what. Just the doctor said don't talk too much.
Okay.
Can't help.
So, see, in beehive,
We only have. So you're done with the happy friends.
and beehive we've done my childhood, right?
Yeah.
APJ Abdul Kalam.
In beehive, we're done with my childhood. We need to start with No Men Are Fallen.
Okay.
In our school, we're done with No Men Are Fallen and not my childhood.
Oh, really?
Our teacher does poetry first, then she completes the literature.
Okay. Fine.
Over here, how many chapters are coming in moments?
For this,
No, like in general, the entire book's coming, right? Like there are no omitted chapters.
No.
So yeah, for this term, we are done with the chapters.
Yes, the Happy Prince. Till Happy Prince, our portion is done.
Yeah.
Should we go ahead and do Weathering in the Storm of Ersama?
Yeah.
And then we'll do No Men Are Fallen. It's a very, very, very sad story. It is the story of floods that took place in, there was a sudden cyclone in Orissa, and the story of this boy Prashant, and how his entire village got flooded and wiped off because of this storm, and how he took the initiative to rehabilitate people. I mean, to provide food and shelter and help people. So let's see page 37. On 27th October 1999, 7 years after his mother's death, Prashant had gone to the block headquarters of Ersama, a small town in coastal Orissa, some 18 kilometers from his village, to spend a day with a friend. Now, see, this is a wrong way of writing because see, the sentence extended to almost 4 lines.
Yeah.
So something one should not do because it's very difficult to write kya. Okay, so I can tell you, write short sentences. In the evening, a dark and menacing storm quickly gathered. Winds beat against the houses with a speed and fury that Prashant had never witnessed before. Heavy and incessant rains filled the darkness. Ancient trees were uprooted and crashed to the earth. Screams rent the air as people and houses were swiftly washed away. The angry water swirled into his friend's house, neck deep. The building was of brick and mortar and was strong enough to survive the devastation of the wind's velocity of 350 kilometers per hour. Imagine 350
That is so
kilometers.
insane.
When the car goes at 90,
Everybody's scared.
yeah. But the cold terror of the family grew with the crashing of trees that had got uprooted and fallen on their house, sometime in the middle of the night, damaging the roof and walls. The crazed destruction wrought by the cyclone and the surge of the ocean continued for the next 36 hours, although wind speed had reduced somewhat by the next morning. To escape the waters rising in the house, Prashant and his family had taken refuge on the roof. Prashant will never forget the shock he experienced at his first glimpse of the devastation wrought by the super cyclone. In the grey light of the early morning, a raging deadly brown sheet of water covered everything as far as the eye could see. Only fractured cement houses still stood in a few places. Bloated animal carcasses and human corpses floated in every direction. All round, even huge old trees had fallen. 2 coconut trees had fallen on the roof of their house. This was a blessing in disguise because the tender coconuts from the trees kept the trapped family from starving in the several days that followed. For the next 2 days, Prashant sat huddled with his friend's family in the open on the rooftop. They froze in the cold and incessant rain. The rainwater washed away Prashant's tears. The only thought that flashed through his mind was whether his family had survived the fury of the super cyclone. Was he to be bereaved once again? Why once again?
Because his mother
Had just father. 2 days later, which seemed to Prashant like 2 years, the rain ceased and the rainwater slowly began to recede. Prashant was determined to seek out his family without further delay. But the situation was still dangerous, and his friend's family pleaded with Prashant to stay back a little while longer. But Prashant knew he had to go. He equipped himself with a long sturdy stick and then started on his 18 kilometers expedition back to his village through the swollen floodwaters. It was a journey he would never forget. He constantly had to use his stick to locate the road, to determine where the water was most shallow. At places it was waist deep and progress was slow. At several points he lost the road and had to swim. After some distance, he was relieved to find 2 friends of his uncle who were also returning to their village. They decided to move ahead together. As they waded through the waters, the scenes they witnessed grew more and more macabre. they had to push away many human bodies, men, women, children, and carcasses of dogs, goats, and cattle that the current swept against them as they moved ahead. In every village that they passed, they could barely see a house standing. Prashant now wept out loud and long. He was sure that his family could not have survived this catastrophe. Eventually, Prashant reached his village, Kalikura. His heart went cold. Where their home once stood, there were only remnants of its roof. Some of their belongings were caught, mangled, and twisted in the branches of trees just visible above the dark waters. Young Prashant decided to go to the Red Cross shelter to look for his family. Among the first people he saw in the crowd was his maternal grandma. Weak with hunger, she rushed to him, her hands outstretched, her eyes gleaming. It was a miracle. They had long given up for dead. They had long given him up for dead. Quickly word spread, and his extended family gathered around him and hugged him tight in relief. Prashant anxiously scanned the mortally battered group. His brother and sister, his uncles, his aunts, they all seemed to be there. By the next morning, he took in the desperate situation in the shelter. He decided to get a grip over himself. He sensed deathly grief settled upon the 2,500 strong crowd in the shelter. 86 lives were lost in the village. All the 96 houses had been washed away. It was their fourth day at the shelter. So far, they had survived on green coconuts, but there were too few to go around such a tumult of people. Prashant, all of 19 years, decided to step in as leader of his village. If no one else did, he organized a group of youths and elders to jointly pressurize the merchant once again to part with his rice. This time, the delegation succeeded and returned triumphantly, wading through the receding waters with food for the entire shelter. No one cared that the rice was already rotting. Branches from fallen trees were gathered to light a reluctant and slow fire, on which to cook the rice. For the first time in 4 days, the survivors at the cyclone shelter, were able to fill their bellies. His next task was to organize a team of youth volunteers to clean the shelter of filth, urine, vomit, and floating carcasses, and to tend to the wounds and fractures of the many who had been injured. On the fifth day, military helicopter flew over the shelter and dropped food packet parcels. It then did not return. The youth task force gathered empty utensils from the shelter. Then they deputed the children to lie in the sand left by the waters around the shelter with these utensils on their stomachs to communicate to the passing helicopters that they were hungry. The message got through, and after that, the helicopter made regular rounds of the shelter, airdropping food and other basic needs. Prashant found that a large number of children had been orphaned. He brought them together and put up a polythene sheet shelter for them. Women were mobilized to look after them, while the men secured food and materials for the shelter. As the weeks passed, Prashant was quick to recognize that the women and children were sinking deeper and deeper in their grief. He persuaded the women to start working in the food for work program started by the NGO, and for the children, he organized sports events. He himself loved to play cricket, and so he organized cricket matches for children. Prashant engaged with other volunteers in helping the widows and children to pick up the broken pieces of their lives. The initial government plan was to set up institutions for orphans and widows. However, this step was successfully resisted, as it was felt that in such institutions, children would grow up without love and widows would suffer from stigma and loneliness. Prashant's group believed orphans should be resettled in their own community itself, possibly in new foster families made up of childless widows and children without adult care. It is 6 months after the devastation of the super cyclone. This time, Prashant's wounded spirit has healed simply because he had no time to bother about his own pain. His handsome, youthful face is what the widows and orphan children of his village seek out most in their darkest hours of grief.
There's
Harsh.
so much to take in.
Yeah.
So nice. It's very nice to read.
I know. A very, very touching, sad Ersama. Somewhere in Orissa. So I was doing this lesson in Kupathene, and this girl who's from Orissa, and she said this was the super cyclone, but Orissa is one state which keeps getting hit by cyclones almost every year. So she says she too has experience, and she has heard so many stories by her parents and grandparents, like how they were stranded in various different cyclones, and how there used to be no electricity, no water. So you have to like really save whatever you have and use it. So before she moved here, she was in Orissa, and still she was in the city. Yet the situation was difficult. So you can imagine, she used to say it used to be, you can't sleep because there's no electricity, so no AC, no rain, forget AC, no fan also. So there are mosquitoes because the water logging and then the dirt and everything. It takes time to clean and then go back. So there are mosquitoes. So in the like you hardly sleep for from 12 to 4, and you get up around 3:34 because mosquitoes don't let you sleep.
That's so tragic.
Yeah,
I don't know, this made me kind of sad.
yeah, it's a very very sad story.
Yeah.
I know, as a rule, there shouldn't be sad stories, though they are facts of life. Um, okay. What havoc was the super cyclone wreaked in the life of people of Orissa?
So,
What havoc, that is destruction,
yeah.
has the super cyclone wreaked in the life of people of Orissa? How did they suffer because of super cyclone?
They lost their houses, people lost their family members. There was nothing to eat for days. Proper help wasn't provided, and the shelter also left people hungry and not well.
Yeah, there was no food even in the
Yeah.
shelter run by Red Cross. So, how was Prashant, a teenager, being able, and then you can write that all the villages after villages were destroyed, the villages were covered with the water, trees were uprooted, and the dead bodies of the human bodies and the carcasses of dogs and cattle floated on the flat water. So mention that also.
So basically, everybody was traumatized.
Imagine.
The scariest part is when they mentioned how he had to walk 18 kilometers to go back to his village,
Through the water.
and he saw dead bodies of people.
And they were like dead bodies, they had to push the dead bodies away.
It gives me a very weird feeling to think about.
How has Prashant, a teenager, like I have experienced 2005 flood, but in the Mumbai floods,
Yeah,
the
2004.
2005. So
What happened here then? Like, where was it primarily affecting? What place?
entire Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, everything was flooded. Everything came to standstill. Like people, if they are in office, they were in the office. They had to stay in the office. Those who were in the bus had to come down. Like one of my relatives, she stays in Dadar, and there are three people. They were like, She had just gone down. She was also in the bus. Somehow she managed to walk. The lady who was sitting next to her was from Thane, and she was worried how will she reach because everything just stopped. People were they were in the train. They were in the train whole night. It was dark. Imagine. So there was no place. So this lady, the other man, some two ladies, just random ladies. She got them home and they stayed in her house. But luckily her house was on the third floor. My sister-in-law's house was on the ground floor. There was water till there. Like the entire house got wiped off. Like, everything. She just whatever she could take. As the water started flooding, her house till here, the neighbors said you better come on the first floor. Because what happens, the water is from here, the water is from outside, the door doesn't open. So they had to literally, like 5, 6 men were trying to knock open the door because pressure from both the sides, so it got sealed. Like, and her son was small. He was having fun, we're like swimming. Yay! Then she picked him up, took the things. And you keep thinking that it will recede now, it will recede now, it will go. My mother, she has we have a row house in Sector 6, so her ground floor was in water. Luckily, we had the first floor also. So we were sitting there. It's horrible. So I've seen the bed mattresses floating on the road from our, uh, terrace. We have a big balcony, so from balcony we could see. I distinctly remember that. But human carcasses and all this huge
I've
devastation.
only experienced like a flood-like situation once. That was only because the main city part was flooded, and I would live in the suburbs of Gurgaon, Haryana. It was very secluded, very away from everything, and it was very high over there. Like it was not for any particular reason, just for aesthetic purposes. It was high on the ground, and then higher on that would be houses. So it was like a house situation, and that too, I had to come back from dance classes. I was wearing a red frock, I still remember. It was stained brown by all the dirt I was walking in. My great grandfather was picking me up, and that's when it started raining very heavily. So, like for an hour or something, we were in the dance class. And when it actually we realized it'll only get worse from here, we had to start walking. And it was a 15-minute walk because the water would not let us walk through.
My husband was in his office was in Bandra complex. He worked from there. He stayed there in the office only. And then how long did he stay there? So he was like not sure. So he started walking. They started walking from Bandra complex to Vashi. So he was staying in Vashi then. So
a lot of efforts to get home. I would just
and it was all flooded, and then they got a bus for some time, some bus. For a short distance, I think. I don't know. I have to ask him again.
I have walked from APMC to home for my sister's birthday celebration because it rained too heavy on the night before and we were out shopping. So everything we bought was like it was 6 bags of stuff, and me and my sister both like 12 and 10 holding stuff, and my mama holding everything, and then everybody under umbrellas because whatever we bought, it was for her birthday the next day. It was quite expensive. We could not let it go and get all watered. All the transport, like rickshaws and everything, had stopped because it had started, the water logging had started.
How has Prashant, the teenager, been able to help the people of his village?
Prashant, he got help from the helicopters, right? He made
So he first organized a group of youth and pressurized the merchant to part with his rice, and that's how the people in the shelter could eat rice after 4 days. Then he, then he organized a team of youth volunteers to clean the shelter of filth, urine, vomit, and sure.
Why was the shelter not clean? I don't understand that.
How was the shelter? Who will clean? Everybody was wet, huddled, sick.
See?
Of course, when you are in the water, rain, so you don't have any change of clothes, right? You come from home, your house is devastated, you are in shock, pain, crying. So, it takes time for that initial shock to go off.
Well, the more I think about floods and stuff, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
Because there is basically no escape. You are in water, you go out the door, there is more water.
Then and to 10 wounds and fractures of many people, then this age 40 has all the
How
answer.
will people, okay, I have too many questions, but how did people get wounded in a flood?
Because
They would be floating around.
no, see, you don't come out of the house unless part of your house start falling. If suppose the tree fell on the house, so obviously he'll get some injured, no? So people like caught him and brought him out. So there are so many. Then you try to run, escape in that muddy water. Then you can't see the road. You fall. Walking in that muddy water is not easy. So people fall, they get hurt. There are so many, insects. You get bitten. There are so many things. There are like shards of glass. There will be some pieces of broken wood. You don't wear your shoes and walk.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No,
You don't have
it's
the
like
time.
you just escape whatever you take whatever you get. Like this sister of mine, there is not a single picture of her child of his young days because everything got destroyed. Luckily, she had her certificates in the top shelf. So the first thing her husband when he came is both of them are doctors. So the first thing they did is they only took that file and gave it to my husband went to see when he got to know that on his way from back from office he first went to her house. So she just gave it to him and said take it home. So he took it home. So only the certificates were remaining. Otherwise everything, the fridge, the TV, everything was gone.
That's so much
Mattresses.
financial stress too.
Yeah.
Like you're
And
basically
there were
building
so
from
many such
scratch.
houses. There were so many such buildings. Since then, it became a rule that there will be no ground floor.
Yeah,
There will be stairs and the first floor. Navi Mumbai, they revamped the entire Vashi. There are like these big gutters, and so the water will flood off because it was basically because of what do you call it?
Drainage issues.
A drainage issue. The plastic bag got clogged in the drains, and there was huge rainfall. It was cloudburst, so huge rainfall. Like, I've never heard and never got scared for in my life so much. It's like it felt as if it will never stop. Such heavy rainfall, continuous.
Tough imagining that, and it must be tougher going through that.
So I distinctly remember my daughter was only 2 months old and I was at my mommy's place. Luckily, we have a row house, so like we could comfortably sit on the top floor. Even then,
You know.
yeah, like the ground floor, there was water, till only ankle length water, but even then, see, imagine the leg of your bed is in the water. That gets spoiled. My mother had a bookshelf. So what we did, we removed it, took the grain and kept it on the kitchen stuff on top of the counter. And by the time we realized, Arey, her books are there, the top ground, like the bottom part of the got wet. She had this nice bookshelf, and there were so many books, like so many old books. Like she was very fond of collecting books, so some 50, 60 books. Just she had to just throw it. She tried to dry, but they were dry. So, and this was the least of the damage. Only ankle length water, so not major. But even then, her furniture, she had to polish the whole thing again.
again, that is
Clean the house, my God, clean it. It's full of the
Grime
dirt,
and dirt.
dirt and slime and cockroaches and whatnot. The dead cockroaches, you're trying cleaning the whole thing, putting water and cleaning. Oof.
Hiring people would be another burden on whatever you are
There's
doing.
no hiring people. Everybody's worried in their own house, busy cleaning their own house. You can't wait for 2 days to hire people because it starts stinking. So the minute the water receded, we had to start cleaning. Whom to hire? The man whom you will hire is also busy in his own house, taking care of his shanties. Why not?
Also, then what about all the industries that must be damaged in the floods? Like,
Even that must have been a major loss.
because when industries are flooded, that's a lot of financial,
The machinery.
Usually, because everything is on a single story. Like, if you see warehouses and everything is like just ground.
I hope there are some areas in Vashina which are a little lower. That is the first the sector 6 and 7. That area was built. So that area was little on the lower side. So that is the area which got flooded mostly. I think IDC area was done. I don't know. I have no idea. So then he made a task force and tried to communicate with the passing helicopters to
Inform them that they were
hungry and provide more food. Prashant found that, and when he found out that large number of children were orphaned, he mobilized the women to
very cold.
Yes, sure. There you have the.
Thank you.
Then he also started the cricket matches and sports events for children so that they come out of their grief and encourage women to join the Food for Work program started by the NGO. So you'll have to write the whole thing.
Yeah.
How have the people of the community helped one another? What role do the women of Kalikuda play during these days? So again, more or less same. They joined the task force, the group of youth and elderly pressurize the merchant to give food, give grain or rice. Then the task force volunteered to clean the shelter of whatever. Then the women they looked after the children, the orphan children, and later these orphan children were also were resettled in their own community itself in the foster families, which were with foster families made up of childless widows and children without adult care. Or they were the children, the orphan children were resettled in their own community and taken care by new foster families made up of childless widows. कुछ समझा मैंने क्या बोला?
हाँ समझ में आ रहा है. I was just got a lot to think now.
Why do Prashant and other volunteers resist the plan to set up institutions for orphans and widows?
Prashant and the other volunteers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the other volunteers, they resist the plan because
at such institutions,
the children are not given
enough care
and
love. They grow up without love.
And the widows are basically stigmatized and they feel very lonely and away from the society.
Yeah.
They considered alternatives such as resettling the children in the community itself amongst the childless widows.
Yes. Foster care home, foster families. Do you think Prashant is a good leader? Of course.
Yeah.
He did not sit there and cry for his own loss. He decided to take action for everyone, for the entire community. And then you will write what all the things he did. Do you think young people can get together to help people during natural calamities?
Yeah, young people
Yes.
have the most, what do you call it? The most physical strength as compared to like older generations, and they are the ones that have the most willpower at such times to work through it and get out of the situation and look at the brighter side.
So there was this, like people were walking back, no? So when people were walking back, suddenly one woman or someone realized that there was a manhole. There's a manhole near Manhole which was open. And the people who lived there, that woman, she told the boys. And then they said, yes, this manhole is open and people are walking back. And if anybody, if, one doctor, he was in the hospital, he came doctor. He was working in the hospital, he came out, he decided to go back home, started walking, did not see the manhole, not the manhole one, somewhere in that area, just got, because once you go on the manhole, no coming out, no, because and in the when the water it's flooded, so they knew where the manhole is. So these all men, their boys, they made a chain and they stood there in circle till the water receded, guiding people to not walk from there.
So thoughtful.
Yeah.
I love nice people.
People are basically nice.
Yeah, when it's of life and death.
So yeah.
Sorry.
No. I'm stupid. I start tearing up.
It's indeed very sad.
Yeah, no. It's such a nice gesture to like imagine to stand in the rains for so long. So yeah. When I'm teaching in the class, I'm to like, I pray, I try that this should not happen.
No, it's okay, it's okay. That's fine, it happens. Even one of my teachers cried today, she had a bad day.
What?
Principal ma'am.
She cried?
Yeah, that's fine, it's okay. It's okay to cry sometimes.
No, this has never happened in the class. Thank God, that will be so embarrassing.
No, it's not embarrassing. Feeling emotions is not embarrassing, okay?
While teaching a lesson?
That just shows that you really like what you're teaching and you're really passionate about it.
Okay.
Look on the brighter side of things.
I hope I don't look as if I'm crying.
No, you look very nice.
Then wonder यार इसको क्या हो गया?
You look very nice.
Okay. Let's do the, what do you say?
Volume.
Volume, yeah, question answers.
It's in volume 2, right? Yeah. Poetry is usually in volume 2. No, actually, this is not poetry.
This is not?
No, I got confused. This is not in volume 2. This must be in volume 1.
Can I at least switch on the fan?
Yeah.
I'll switch on that. So, sound ventilation. The girl I was telling must be in yours. She's from your school only. What's her name? One is Soumya. Soumya was not telling this.
Tanisha.
Tanish.
What are we referring to?
The stories from Orissa.
Yeah, Tanisha's Korea.
Yeah, she's in Korea.
Wow. I'm pretty sure the whole school believes she's Punjabi.
Really?
Yeah, she seems like one. She hangs out with the Punjabi group of friends.
Okay. If you hear her read, you'll know
She has a
oh
accent.
yeah, just little. Like the way they say, it's devastation will be devastation. So, so I don't correct her because that's how she speaks.
It's asking how long did it rain continuously in summer. I'm not sure they gave a number.
No,
The option is 24, 36, 48 or
48, 48. It said, yeah, it said 48, though the wind, speed of the wind went down. See, continue to. The crazy destruction wrought by cyclone and the surge of the ocean continued for the next 36 hours.
Okay.
Although the wind speed had reduced somewhat, 36 hours.
How did the people in Arizona survive during the storm? By eating tender coconuts and remaining on the rooftops?
Yes.
By remaining in the water or by hanging on trees?
No, rooftop and the tender coconut. Done? Okay. You'll write two answers. One is the second one. How has Prashant, a teenager, been able to help the people? And second one would be, do you think Prashant is a good leader?
Yeah.
Okay. Because if this is a 4-mark answer, no, then yes, and you'll have to mention this. No, when you say Prashant, how he helped the teenagers, that answer, that will cover that answer. So don't write that.
No, the question is, do you think young people can get together to help people during natural calamities?
Yeah, so they really ask such so much open-ended question.
Yeah.
So therefore, you should prepare the answer, but don't
Yeah.
write it here. The second one is basically covers everything.
Exactly.
First and second, maybe. First and second. But that I'll give you to write little later.
Yeah.
Okay, if I get a call, then that time you write these answers. In the meantime, since I have not got the call, we continue with teaching. Right? I'm just hoping that I get a call after 6:30. Okay, so.
Okay, so you can use these points also. The youngsters have better strength, courage, and they're more courageous. They have more energy to help, and they have better immunity in such cases also. So, compared to the older or the younger crowd. Was Prashant, do you think Prashant was a good leader? Yes, he was a wise, thoughtful, and courageous man. He was helping and caring. ये सारे points जो है यहाँ पे.
MCQs में.
Yeah, you can write those.
Should we continue with No Men Are Fallen?
Yeah. So many times, this is a beautiful poem because many times we feel that somebody, because he or she looks different,
It's not like us.
not like us.
Or maybe a little less than us.
Yes, yeah. So the best example is when APJ Abdul Kalam says that when he was called by his teacher to eat food, his wife was like
she denied to serve him.
Yeah, and she stood there and kept looking how this boy eats. Just because he comes from a different community does not mean he doesn't know how to eat. And we are very quick to pass comments on people. So there's this.
We forget that they are people too sometimes. We forget that people who don't look like you and I are people too. There's this young man who comes to pick up his little sibling in our school. He is disabled because he does not have one of his arms amputated, and it is so weird because like women that pick up, nannies and everyone who come to pick up, they'll
keep looking at him.
No, they'll start moving away as if that is something very. I made friends with him. He's very nice. He goes to college. He's pursuing journalism. Very nice.
Great.
I went to pick up my friend's brother there, so I saw a bunch of women just like walking away. That pissed me off a little. So I went and I stood next to him. He said, "कौन सी class के बच्चे अभी आ रहे हैं?" So we started talking. He's 25. He's starting his degree now because the amputation caused him a little trouble.
I happened to read this article which said that there was this person from northeastern state. He's an IS officer, and he went as an Indian delegate to Sri Lanka, or I'm not sure, or Singapore. Okay, so there was some meeting or something, conference in Singapore, and he was representing India. And that's where they referred to him as, okay, our Indian representative. And then he said, in so many years, for the first time I've been called Indian. He said, in my own country, people call me Chinese.
Oh.
Because he has northeastern features.
That is incredibly sad.
Yeah. So no men are foreign. Remember, no men are strange. No country is foreign. Beneath all uniforms, a single body breathes, like ours. The land our brothers walk upon is earth like this, in which we all shall lie. So he's telling, no men are strange because they don't come from your country, they are not strange. No countries are foreign.
Yeah, they're so much better or worse than us.
Yeah, so they are just like us. Everybody wants the same thing: good life, good air to breathe, good food to eat, good education.
And everybody has 2 eyes, 2 arms, and 2 legs.
Yes.
So shut up about being discriminator. I hate it.
So beneath all uniform, like different clothes, maybe a single body breathes. Maybe the uniforms are different. That means the kind of clothes we wear are different.
But at the end, we are
humans. Like ours, the land our brothers walk upon is earth. It's also earth. It's not that they walk upon some different Mars. So it's earth in which we all shall lie. Finally, we are going to go die and go in this earth only. Maybe the piece of area is different, a little away. It is finally earth, one earth.
Yeah.
They too, aware of sun and air and water, are fed by peaceful harvests, by war's long winters starved. their hands are ours, and in their lines we read a labor not different from our own. This is, they feel the same way, the way we feel, the same air, sun, the same sun gives them heat, the same air they breathe, the same water from rain they get. They are also fed by the peaceful harvest. There are harvests, they're happy, they have peaceful times, and they too get starved if there are wars, if there is winter, if it is hard. The wars, winter, that means the difficult times. They too get troubled, they too
They
get
also have nice times,
suffer.
they also suffer just like us.
Yes, the way we would if there
Yeah.
are difficult times. Their hands are ours. Their hands are just like ours. They work. They do the same kind of work we do. And their lines we read. And in their lines we read. You know, the lines of the hands.
The fate.
The fate. Yes. A labor not different from our own. They also have the same labor. They have to work for
They have the
their
same efforts.
and they have same kind of destiny. They have same pains and same pleasures that we go through. Remember, they have eyes like ours that wake or sleep, and strength that can be won by love. In every land is common life that all can recognize and understand. Every land, there are common people, common life. People wake up, go to work, earn money, come back, face troubles, solve problems. Everywhere, people are same. It's a common life that people live in every land. Let us remember, whenever we are told to hate our brothers, it is ourselves that we shall dispossess, betray, condemn. Remember, we who take arms against each other. So when we are told that hate others, they don't come from your religion, they
They're
don't
not
belong to,
good.
they are not good. People from
As
this
if you're
religion
very fine.
so or so it is basically we are hating ourselves, and we are asked to hate. They are all brothers, our own people, and we are all same. So when we hate others, we are hating ourselves that we shall dispossess. We are hating ourselves, we are betraying ourselves, we are condemning ourselves. Remember we who take arms against each other. So when we take arms against each other, when we have wars against each other, when we hurt each other, we are basically condemning our own people.
There's nothing good that comes out of wars, always. Nothing good.
Yeah, and many times it's fought.
It's
to satisfy ego few people.
It's
peaceful
political agenda being fulfilled by people who did not do anything bad. I hope that makes the politicians happy then.
No, nobody is happy. How long will they be happy?
Exactly.
It's just the ego, ego of many times whenever there is unemployment, when there is economic problems, they try to cover it with patriotism. So in the name of patriotism, the wars are fought.
Now there's nothing you can say because we are patriotic. We love our country.
It is the human earth that we define. Our hells of fire and dust outrage the innocents. Our air that is everywhere our own. Remember, no men are foreign and no country is strange. It is the human earth that we define.
It is the human earth that we are polluting, and
our hells of fire and dust outrage the innocents. The kind of outrage and the kind of enmity and violence we create.
Impurity in our hearts, basically.
Yeah, that who does that affect? The innocents. It affects the innocent people. The innocence of air that is everywhere our own. It's basically killing and polluting the innocence.
Air as in everything around us.
Remember, no men are foreign
And no
and
country.
no country strange.
So nice. I love
Yes,
it. I
I
love
don't know
it.
when he wrote this because in the name of religion and in the name of superior race, such heinous crimes were committed. Like if you must have read about the indigenous American community, the Red Indians, and the kind of
The despicable behavior the government organizations show towards them. Also, I started realizing that people are so, like, insufferable sometimes. When George Floyd was killed, just for being a black person, Indians are no better. If we see someone, who looks a little different or maybe a little dark,
yeah,
oh my god, everybody in the mall would be turning their heads physically. Some people would record them.
just because they are darker
Okay, my
complexion.
dad once, we were walking through the mall, we were eating and we were going home, and there was this very nice young child who had afro braids. They were of different culture, walking with their parent, and a group of like really disgusting teenage people, like 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, started recording them as if they're some sort of like something that can't be touched or something. And my dad got so upset at them. He asked us to sit at the table and he went to it.
Yeah, we are. See, we simply say we are the best. We portray as if we are, such great nation. We are the casteist. We are racist. We follow everything. We
Everything that
discriminate on all grounds.
okay, really traumatizing for me. My grandmother, she's quite literally the reason I would not like to go back to my village ever in any occasion. She has this very fine obsession with having fair-looking grandkids who are skinny. And also, if they are boys, that's better.
Yeah.
When my sister was born, she was the first child. She was very gora, like she calls you look like a rasgulla. That's what. And she grew up to be very skinny, very well built. Whereas when I was born, my grandma was expecting a boy who was just as good as Didi and just as skinny. I was neither of any of that. I turned out a darker complexion than Didi. I started looking like more like my mother than my father. And since forever, I had a little bit of a belly, a little bit of everything around me was a little healthy, and I was a girl. So my grandma took it upon herself to take me out to everyone as soon as I had the cognitive ability to talk and understand, to take me out everywhere and tell everyone that I look like my mother, that's a bad point. I'm not as fair as my sister, that's also pretty bad. And also she would do this thing where she would take me to place and she would caress my belly as if it is, and I was like 8 or 9, and since then I have this obsession with making sure my stomach's not shown anywhere.
Oh,
She would not do it out of spite, but out
yeah.
of you know.
Yeah, I know. I still remember. I keep talking about this sister-in-law of mine. She's very fair, and her sister-in-law was also very fair. Okay, and now the husband was like her husband, my sister-in-law's sister-in-law's husband. All of them, that entire family is a doctor family. And so imagine it's a very well-educated family, and the husband is British complexion and he has brown eyes. So she would always say, "Oh no, my child should have my complexion in his eyes, but you may want something, but that doesn't mean it will happen, right?" So when the child was born, the child took husband's complexion and her eyes. Her first reaction, "छी मुझे नहीं अच्छी लगी."
That is so mean to your own child.
Yeah, that was her reaction. And everybody was like, "What are you saying?" Like, everybody was like,
So
"What?"
messed up.
I know. And then she recovered like, "Nee, not that." But then it's
Everybody knew what she did.
like, so,
The superiority complex just because they're lighter. My grandpa is very white in nature. When she came to my grandpa's village when they got married, she was very fair. People would say that Kashmiri, she's very pretty.
that is their USP.
Yeah.
Fair.
That doesn't help your case of being mean. Thank you.
Um, Like in my family, nobody bothers like girl, boy.
Yeah, no, that is.
Yeah.
That's
So-
its only grandmother.
Yeah.
Very lovely lady grandmother.
No, I'm telling you, but so when I have personally, I had taken my daughter to play, when she was small, I taken her to the garden to play, and there was this auntie who used to stay near my house only, and her children and I, we are all born and brought up in Vashi. So her son was my friend, my classmate, my husband's good friend, and all. And so the her grandson was playing as usual